Welcome to Sports Talk with the Cowboy.
Welcome, and thanks for riding with the Cowboy. Well, we've all waited for it. Now it's going to happen. Tomorrow night, preseason football kicks off. Hall of Fame game, Canton, Ohio. The enshrinement of this year's NFL Hall of Fame members kicked off by a football game, which ceremonially starts the preseason of the NFL this year. So we're looking forward to the Browns and the Jets tomorrow night in the opening preseason game of 2023. The Buccaneers are at practice, as all the teams are. Some news from the field that says that Kyle Trask is doing a real good job out there. Maybe the most improved player on the field. For all the detractors from Kyle Trask, he's looking real good out there at practice. Baker Mayfield's doing good. Baker's throwing a few more interceptions than Kyle Trask even is. He's taking a few more chances with me and Baker. But no word definitively on who's ahead of anybody. It's going to be a competition supposedly to the end of the season. I'd be surprised if Mayfield don't become the starter first game against Minnesota. Both of them are going to get playing time in each one of these three preseason games. You can bet on that. Other than that, no injuries, which is good news. Shaquille Barrett's been out at practice a few times. Will Golston's out at practice. Vita Vea. Campbell, one of our new signees, has really done real good in the backfield and defensive backs. Carlton Davis is doing well. Everybody's doing real good on both sides of the ball. No great injuries to speak of other than, cramps and related muscle pulls in a certain way out there at practice when you're getting out there in pads and working twice a day in the heat or the air condition, whichever they're going to be practicing in. But the teams are getting out there, getting acclimated. Nothing serious coming out that we've got a season-ending injury. And I haven't heard of any season-ending injury of the 32 teams. And thankfully, we haven't heard any. We're going to start with the preseason games, and we'll see some injuries of some of these players. But hopefully nobody gets injured. And then as the Bucs go, nobody is injured. Dave Canales is running the offense real well. And Todd Bowles has got the defense humming. Yaya, our signee from Louisville, is doing real great on the edge, along with Nelson out there. We got Tron Sharink out there again on the edge. Jack Barrett's still not taking full participation in practice, but he's out there with the players. That means a lot. He's not actually physically in pads, but he's out there with them and trying to get him mended up and get him ready to get into some preseason action before the regular season starts. So other than that, us and Russell Gage, there's been some lingering injuries to Russell, but he's out there with the receivers too, even though he's not taking part in actually any of the drills with the pads on. So good news from the Bucs, good news around the NFL. NFL season starts tomorrow night. That's on ABC and ESPN. Both those channels will be covering that game. And Rodney Barber, Buccaneer great, will be enshrined this year in the Hall of Fame. So one of our own, Rodney Barber, the 2002 team, along with John Lynch, Warren Sapp, and Derek Brooks, all been enshrined there at Canton. So it's a big day as Buck fans to watch one of our own go in this year's class with Rodney Barber going in and being enshrined in Canton. So we'll keep you posted on the Bucs. Now we're going to go on to the Rays. They acquired a pitcher from the Guardians. Chaviro is how I pronounce his name. He is a starter up at the Guardians with Cleveland. He was 5-2, had a little bit better than a 2.01 ERA. Good pitcher, solid pitcher. We've got him under contract the remaining part of this year from August to October and all of next year under contract, by the way. So no arbitration with him. He's going to stay with the Bucs, with the Rays throughout the end of this year and next year. We did trade one of our great prospects out of Durham. The Rays did, a first base prospect. First baseman could hit 25, 30 home runs in the future. He's a real good prospect in first base. To Cleveland for the pitcher. And some cash considerations as far as buying the contracts out of both players. But a good deal by the Rays. We got a starter, and went along with the Glassnose, McClanahan, and then we've got Efren. Now we've got the fourth starter. We needed it. A lot of the teams that are making a run for the World Series have beat themselves up in that trade deadline with pitchers. Verlander went back to Houston, and other pitchers went everywhere. All the teams, like we said last show, that didn't want players, that weren't going to make the playoffs, unloaded them on the free agency market, and many of them were traded, and the ones that were traded to were the ones that were trying to make that run. And we got a solid starter with the Rays. It's a good situation for us. We won 2 against New York. The taping of this show tonight, the first pitch up in Yankee Stadium. We're going to try to make it 3 out of 3 with the Yankees in New York and move on to play the Tigers. We'll keep you posted with the Rays. But they're one game out of the East behind Baltimore, and we've got to keep really getting down to business between now and September. Make up that one game and pull ahead, but we're right where we wanted to be. And with that new pitcher, adding the fourth pitcher to our rotation is going to be a big plus for us for our Rays. In racing and NASCAR last week, Richmond, it was Chris Buescher winning for Kowalski Racing, Roush Kowalski Racing, the number 17. Big win for him, the third win in his career, first win this year. Won it at Richmond. Brad Kowalski, team owner, had a good car all day. Both of them run up front. They dominated. My guy, Michael McDowell, fell into the back, wound up around in the 20th position, looked terrible. This week they're moving on to Michigan, Brooklyn, Michigan. Super Speedway up in Michigan. We're going to see a lot of action, Super Speedway action, a lot of drafting, a lot of passing, and we'll see who comes out ahead in Michigan. So that's what's going on in NASCAR this week. IMSA, no news on IMSA. We're going to move on now to the question and answers. And the first question this week is from Pete. And Pete is from Clearmont. And Pete wanted to know what I thought about Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask being the starter. I think it's too early, Pete, for me to know. And I don't think anybody else knows. But I think Baker will be the starter just because he's got more seat time as a starting quarterback, Pete, with the Cleveland Browns than Kyle Trask does. And he has taken a team to the playoffs, the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs, and won a playoff game. So, Pete, that's why I think that he will get the nod unless something happens between now and the end of training camp. But Kyle Trask is really there. He is not there just for show to have somebody stand behind Baker Mayfield. He's out there competing with Baker Mayfield. And they said they were going to have a competition, and they have lived up to what they said so far, Pete. We're just going to have to keep watching these games now. Preseason's kicking off tomorrow night. We'll see the Bucs against the Steelers a week from Friday night, and we'll see how many snaps each one of them, Pete, get. But for right now, I still think, Pete, that Baker will be the quarterback. And next is Alice, and Alice is from Tampa. And Alice wanted to know what I thought about the Tampa Bay Lightning next season. And Alice, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning still has a formidable team, a great goalie, Stamkos, and the rest of their players that they still have. They have lost a lot of players in the last 2 years, and that has really hurt the team because that team is in the dynamic, Alice, as you know. They've got to play together when they play. And so, Alice, I think we've lost a lot of players. Ryan McDonough, we can just go on and on and on to the players we've lost from Stanley Cup, Alice. But the Lightning still has that core. They still got Hedman, Vasilevsky in the goal. They still got Stamkos. They have the core. They got our coach and our owner, Jeffrey Vinnick, and we're in good shape, I think, next year. I think those Florida Panthers, Alice, will give us a fit down there in Miami, though. Don't kid yourself. That's a good hockey club down there in Florida, in Miami. Alice, thank you for your question. And the next question is from Tom. And Tom wanted to know about USF football, who the first game was. And the first game will be against Western Kentucky, Tom. And I think that we got to come out, Tom, and try to do real well against Western Kentucky and get a few wins under our belt, because last year the only program only won one game. They're 1-11. They got a new head coach. They only got to win one game to tie last year's record. So I'd like to see them go out to Western Kentucky and win that first game. They've got a tough schedule. They play Alabama, the third game of the year in Raymond James Stadium. And they have some other big games this year. They play top-tier teams. But I'd like to see USF win that first game against Western Kentucky. So I think it'll mean a lot to the new coach, the new players, and the new attitude over at USF Bull Football. God bless you for that question, because we wanted to mention USF because college football is going to, and they're training. They're getting ready for a Labor Day kickoff of the college football season. So God bless you for your questions. DJX, what do you got for me tonight?
Well, Cowboy, you know what it is. Let's get right off into it, buddy. All right. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid praised wide receiver Justin Ross for progression after red shirt rookie season.
Justin Ross is one of those receivers that he kind of redshirted him because they had so many dynamic receivers with Kansas City, and that they have such a good team out there that as many as a great superstar leaves, another one takes his place, because they have that system where great ones are waiting to take that mantle when another one leaves. And Ross is one of those that you can look for this year that'll get out there and make you forget about those who've left.
I'm going to be looking for him. All right. Steelers. Really starting to enjoy process of becoming a good unit.
I think with the new quarterback last year, Kenny Pickett, and having that new philosophy after Big Ben left and getting him, and it took a little time to gel, which they did last year. They weren't a formal team, but they were a 500 team. But this year, since they've had that 1 year together, that he's looking for a lot bigger things out of them, and they are gelling, and they are the same group, and that's going to be a big plus for them when they get into the season.
All right. Jake Moody continues to dominate.
Jake Moody's a great player, and he will continue to dominate. He's a superstar.
Right on. All right, let's go to the boards. Tight end, Darnell Washington, excited about Pittsburgh's rookies. I feel like this class is special.
If you make a Pittsburgh Steelers football team, you are special. All of them are, all 32 teams, especially Pittsburgh. That Pittsburgh team is steeped in absolute tradition. Yeah. And when they bring players in, when they get a player, you can expect that he's not just there for the training camp. They go in the draft and get you. They expect something out of you. And when you get in and feel what they feel inside that building, you don't need nothing more to be said. You just look up at them six championships and know what Steelers mean into that city, the Pittsburgh, and, you get out there and do your thing.
All right. I'm going to close it out with this. Broderick Jones feel his techniques is getting way better.
I think that his technique off the line is getting better, blocking techniques, rolling off these blocks, pushing blocks away, using his bottom core, using his legs. All these things have to be learned from college, where players just come in there and they bully the other guy, because in pro they find these techniques. They find them moving them off the mark just a little bit. They don't really physical them. They just try to finesse them. A lot of finesse football players. Now he's got these techniques he's picked up. He's learned them.
Right.
So when he gets out there this year, you're going to have something new for him.
You're going to be a force to reckon with.
You're going to have something new for him.
That's what I got for you tonight, Kyle.
Well, God bless you, DJX, and God bless each and every one of you for watching this show. Continue to send your comments in there. We can answer your questions. Watch football this weekend. Enjoy yourself. Get you something to eat. Sit down and see that preseason game, because you got a buck in it. Going into the Hall, Rodney Barber. Congratulations again, Rodney Barber, for being enshrined in the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. A great honor for our community. A great man, a great person, and a great dignitary of this great franchise, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which we love. Watch the game. Watch the interment ceremony. You'll see a lot of faces out there from the Buccaneers you'll recognize when he thanks all and everyone for getting him to have that bust in Canton for the rest of eternity. So enjoy yourself. Enjoy that first game. We'll keep you posted on what goes on out here. Be good to your neighbor. Show some compassion. Show some kindness. This world needs a lot more of it. It doesn't need the hatefulness that we see every day. God bless you. Till next show. KowBoy out.